out here you have this curve, right? It's a graph, and we are talking about asymptotes. So what may come to mind is what is an asymptote? Are you following? And like I stated earlier, you have this curve from, it's a graph. When it approached x-axis, at a point it became parallel to that x-axis. Now somebody may ask you, at what value of y did this graph, this curve, become parallel to the what? X-axis. At what value of what? Y. Take a look at this. You would observe that the parallel nature of this curve started from somewhere around here, is that not so? If I trace this in this way, take it to y-axis, you would see that the parallel nature began at this value of y. Are you following, right? Because coming down this way, at all these points, the curve was not parallel. Are you following? But when it approached this level, it now became what? Parallel. You know, as you keep drawing this horizontal axis x, this curve will also be moving in that way. I don't forget anything. And the parallel lines are lines that never what? Meet. And if you want to say they meet, you can say they meet at infinity. Yeah, and where is infinity? Nowhere. Which means there is no how these guys can meet. Are you following? So this asymptote that is parallel to this x-axis, at what value of y did that parallel condition begin? Are you getting me, right? And so if you trace this thing, you find out it is at this value. Let me call it y naught. Let me call it what? Y naught. So what is the point? To get horizontal asymptote, it is the value of y that you are calculating. Are you getting me, right? Because what your examiner is interested in now is, let us assume you are to plot this graph. As you are plotting the graph, at what value of y will the graph become parallel? Are you getting me? To the x-axis. So I try to find the horizontal asymptote, the x-asymptote. It means that I want you to get the y value. Are you getting me, right? The point where the parallel nature of began. The same thing applies to that one that is parallel to y. You notice that at this point, is the curve parallel to y-axis? No. At this point, is it parallel? No. At this point, is it parallel? But you notice that at this point, the parallel form became much more visible. So if I trace this thing from here, okay, you would notice that at a given value of x-axis, the curve became parallel to what? Y-axis. So your examiner will be interested in your getting this value, x naught. Let me call it what? X naught. Your examiner will be interested in getting that value. Why? It is at this value of x that this parallel nature of this curve to y-axis began. Am I communicating? So if I say you should find the vertical asymptote, the vertical what? What I'm interested in your getting is the value of x, the point on x-axis where the y-parallel nature of the curve started. Do you get the point, right? Any question on this whole thing? Because it's time for you to put down some points now. You've gotten the summary of what asymptote is, isn't it? Please write. Asymptotes are curves, lines, graphs, which becomes parallel to a particular axis at some points. Asymptotes are lines, curves, graphs, which become what? Parallel to a particular axis. Are you there? At some point when they approach that axis. Put full stop and continue. Are you there? To obtain vertical asymptote. To obtain vertical asymptote, that is asymptote to y-axis. Are you there, right? Because y-axis is our vertical line. We need to determine the value of x at which the parallelity began. That is at which that curve became parallel. Are you getting me, right? So if your examiner asks you an example, find the vertical asymptote, what are we looking for? X value. Go full stop and continue. Similarly, to obtain the horizontal asymptote, requires that we determine the value of y. To obtain the horizontal asymptote, that is asymptote to x-axis, are you there, right? Requires that we determine the value of y at which the parallelity began. Okay. I've explained that concept also, isn't it? The question will now be, how do you get this x value at which y asymptote, vertical asymptote will occur, isn't it? How do you get the y value at which the horizontal asymptote will do what? Occur. That's the next thing we should be interested in, is that not so? So, move on to the next line. There are actually some different concepts of obtaining this, but like I had said severally, the focus of your school, are you getting me right, in this topic is what matters the most, and we're going to give attention to that. So right, to obtain the value of x at which vertical asymptotes occur, simplify that function and get the coefficient of y. Simplify that function and get the coefficient of what? Y. Then set this coefficient of y equal to 0 and solve for x. Pulala. This makes sense. You just need to know how to simplify. Are you getting me right? Now, if you are looking for vertical asymptote, as we have here, it is the value of x that you are calculating. That's what we said, is that not so? How to achieve this is simple. The function that was given to you will be the same functions given as mathematical equation 6, is that not so? Simplify that function. Get the coefficient of what I said, y. Coefficient of that axis whose asymptote you are looking for. That coefficient, set it equal to what? 0. And calculate the value of what? X. The reason is because, you see, anytime you do that, that coefficient of y must contain x. Must contain what? X. Anytime you do this thing, you simplify and get the coefficient of y if you want to get vertical asymptote. That coefficient of y must contain what I said, x. X will be the unknown then. So once you set that guy equal to 0 and simplify, the answer you will get would be the value of what? X. Note please, for this vertical asymptote specifically, there is something I want you to note. I've given you the general thing you need to know about this. But there is one basic truth you should know, because why I want to give you this note is because of the way exam questions are usually being presented on this guy. Are you getting me right? For that reason, what we usually do is to set the denominator equal to 0 for vertical asymptote. So note. In most cases, let me not give a generalization. Are you getting me right? But this, what we're about to say now, happens in most cases because of the way the exam questions are usually being presented. In most cases, for vertical asymptote, we simply set the denominator equal to what? 0 and solve for x. So you should take note of that. That happens mostly if someone gives you y, a function will be y equal to, let's say, x minus 3 all over, say the 2x plus 1, for example, and I said you should find what? The vertical asymptote. Just simply set this denominator equal to 0 and calculate x. In this case, the value of x will be minus 1 over 2. Is that not so? If you set 2x plus 1 equal to 0 and solve for x, you get what? Minus 1 over 2. It means that the vertical asymptote began at what value of x? Minus 1 over 2. At that point, the vertical asymptote will start. And the reason why we do this, then just set the denominator to 0, is because, see, look at this. Do you know that this denominator is the coefficient of y? Are you aware of that? If you cross multiply this guy, what will be multiplying y here? Is it not this denominator? I know that coefficient simply means what is multiplying the other. That is why for vertical asymptote is simply, in most cases, depending on how the denominator, depending on how the function is given. If it's given in fraction form like this, we set the denominator to what? 0. Okay, so we are done with how to obtain vertical what? Asymptote. I've explained it. Just simplify the function given to you. Set the quotient of y to what? 0. That quotient of y must contain what I said? X. And then you solve for that x. Now move on, let's talk about how to obtain horizontal asymptote. You see, that is why I prefer this method, because it prepares you to use one particular approach. Are you getting me right? To get your asymptote. To evaluate the horizontal asymptote. Before we proceed to write this, let me ask you. If you are asked to find horizontal asymptote, which variable value are you looking for? Y. You are to get horizontal asymptote, that is x asymptote. I get an x-axis asymptote. It is y value that you are what? Looking for. Okay, so we say to evaluate the horizontal asymptote, simplify the given function. Simplify the given function. Obtain the coefficient of x and set this coefficient of x equal to 0. Then solve and obtain the value of y. Equate the coefficient of x equal to what? 0. Solve that coefficient which we equated to 0, and then you get the value of what? Y. The reason is because anytime you do this simplification, you are looking for horizontal asymptote. Are you there, right? If you simplify that function and get the coefficient of that horizontal, the coefficient of that x, are you getting me right? That coefficient of that x must contain what? Y. Are you getting the idea, right? It must contain y. So once you set that coefficient equal to 0, you can now calculate your what? Y. Is that clear? Now it's important for you to know, please, that what I've just told you here works conveniently for first degree polynomial. Works conveniently for what? First degree polynomial, which is the major focus of what your examiner expects of you. Is that clear, right? Having established these points, it's time for us to pick questions and solve. Are you getting me? Let's solve questions and see how we get the asymptote to any particular axis. But if you have any question, please, based on what we've explained, ask before we pick a particular question and solve. Alright, I'll take a silence to mean that you understand what I've explained so far. Let's take our first question, please. We've got this first question. It's a past question. Let me try to tell you the year. 2015, 2016, okay? Question number 18. 215 to 16, question 18. These are first questions, okay? So, question 1. There is past question 215 to 16. Question 87. Right, what is the vertical asymptote of the function x minus 2 over 2x plus 3? Let me give you the options provided. And you see, this is just 1 plus 1, because even before copying the question, you know the answer already if you understand what we've said. We are looking for the vertical asymptote of the dot. Option A here, we have C is minus 3 over 2. Now you are looking for the vertical asymptote. Are you there? When you are told to find vertical asymptote, which variable value are you looking for? X. Now is that not so? Because it's y asymptote we are looking for. And we have said for vertical asymptotes, the fastest thing to do, if the question is presented in fraction form, is to set the denominator towards 0. Because even though you choose to do this, what simplification are you even going to do here? This f of x is y already, isn't it? If you cross multiply, you notice that the quotient of y will be this denominator. Is that not so? And we said if you are going by that simplification, set the quotient of y to 0 to calculate the value of what? X. So it's just a simple guide. What you have to do here, 2x plus 3 equal to what? and then solve for x. Do you need to solve anything for this guy in the example? As you said, this guy equal to 0 plus 3 will cross, become minus 3 now, is that not so? And then x will be minus 3 over what? 2. You see, this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer. I want to show you something based on this format that your examiner has used. They were so tricky here. They were so what? Tricky. Let me show you. Suppose, assuming, I did that right, that this option B was given as f of x equal to minus 3 over 2. Anyway, before I say this, we said that to solve this guy, 2x plus 3 should be equal to 0. Then x will be minus 3 over what? 2. That's the answer. So that the correct option is what? Is that not so? Suppose this option, please look at. What I want to say is very important. I guess this is the first time they have used something like this to present the option. They usually use xy. But suppose this f of x is equal to minus 3 over 2 like this. So you have this guy there as option. Are you following it right? F of x. And you have this guy also as option. F of x. Do you understand what I mean, right? Both of them is minus 3 over 2. Which would be the answer? Don't forget that you are looking for what? Vertical asymptote. And I have given you all the things you need to know. Calculating vertical asymptote, you know what you are looking for. If you ask to find horizontal asymptote, you know what you are looking for. So if these were the options provided, that this guy is there, what would be the correct answer? Still C. The reason is because f of x is what? Correct. F of x is y. So somebody is telling you that y is equal to minus 3 over 2. If you are looking for vertical asymptote, that is asymptote parallel to y-axis, is it y that you are calculating for? No. That is why this cannot be the answer. Are you getting me right? Good. So we are done with this question. It's as simple as that.